UC Davis. That's my brief. And I've been undergraduate advisor for a long time, years, right? So lucky to work with Julie McGilvery, and lucky to know Elaine Fong, who's been the staff, student assistant and undergraduate for undergraduate advising for a couple of years. Is that enough, Julie? Does that work?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the great introduction. So you can find more information about Professor Diana Strasdes on our website, arts.ucdavis.edu, and click on the art history box and see you can see the backgrounds of all of our great art history faculty. Elaine, tell us what you love briefly about art history.
What about art history? Well, as a student, someone who's graduating and majoring in art history, something I really, really love art history is the fact that it connects with so many other different like aspects of our life. Because I feel like something that's like a common misconception about history is the fact that like people think it only relates to like looking at pictures or like, looking at paintings or pieces of art. But in reality, it's like when you take an art history class, you learn an entirely new like language, an entirely new way to like look at the world, that you find like, oh, like this, like what I can learn in art history relates to, you know, my everyday life, like how I talk, the way I eat, you know, how I look at things. And I think like this new sort of perspective is something that I really value within the major and taking all these classes. And the art is wonderful as well. I always love looking at art. So yeah, I could definitely go on and on and on about why I love art history and the department, but we don't have all day. So yeah.
Elaine, you've been involved with doing stuff with the art studio students, who we also share a department with. This is the Department of Art and Art History. And you've also been involved with using the campus museum, the Minetti Schrem Museum. Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, the art history department, what I think is really nice is that we're starting to really become like this interdisciplinary department. So engaging, we were offering a lot more courses now about like not only like looking at art from a historical perspective, but also engaging with something like really valuable, which is like the student community of artists, because they offer this input or like a perspective that sometimes isn't natural or like afforded to the art historian. And so for example, we have a program or like a gallery on campus underneath actually our art building called the Basement Gallery that, you know, engages with a lot of our classes. It's entirely student run. So the art that's featured in there is entirely made by students. It's for students. And it's like a great way to express like sort of these issues or like sort of see these like problems and ideas that you've like learned in like our history classes played out in like actual spaces that you can physically see. And so there's a lot of like different types of programs and interactions like that between the art history and art department that really sort of like bolster or like enrich like your experience within the department itself. And that presents itself in like a bunch of different ways, like, you know, the assignments you turn in, like the interactions you have with other students, like who are also like art history and art studio associated, even like other majors like outside of like just like the arts administration department. So yeah, it's really valuable. Julie, I think you're muted.
Great. Thank you so much, Elaine. I had to mute because there's a truck going by. But thank you so much. And there are so many different ways that students can engage in learning about art history beyond the classroom that UC Davis offers. For example, we're hoping next year to re-engage in the study abroad programs, UCEAP. We have the Templeton Colloquium that happens in the spring quarter, and we have visiting art history lectures for the Templeton Colloquium. We have the Magnani Shrimp Art Museum on campus where courses are held and opportunities for students to participate there, you know, for work to work. And we have other numerous art museums on campus. And Elaine participated in the administration of the basement gallery on campus. So you got some experience there, Elaine, with promoting exhibitions for art students in the art major. So different ways to engage in art history outside the classroom. Now I want to open up this webinar to questions. For any questions, specific questions you may have about UC Davis, about the art history program, or about transferring and course requirements and everything like that. So feel free to unmute and go ahead and ask us questions.
And we'd especially like to know, like, where you're coming from, you know, and what kind of, you know, what kind of background or sort of what sort of career expectations you may have, you know, just so way that we can help.
Do you have to select that before you enter the major?
Say it again, Emma, please.
Oh, okay, so let me apologize a little bit. I'm actually Emma's mother. She's right in the middle of a 3-hour online exam.
Oh my gosh.
And
oh my
she
gosh.
says, but she didn't want to miss out. So
Oh, how sweet.
I was just asking, what was her question? She was interested in the architectural emphasis and what does that involve? And also, if, you know, how do you choose that? Like, how do you get into that?
You start taking courses in it, and the reason that we have an architectural emphasis is that it is unusual for a faculty of our size to have as many faculty as we do who are either trained architects. We've got two trained architects who went on to get their PhDs in art history, or who have had who have continuing interests in architecture. And so all of us, we realize that all of us have been offering and teaching courses that have to do with the built environment. And so what we decided to do a few years ago is to package that so as to allow students to claim an emphasis if they take 6 of these upper division courses, and that's actually something that lots of students end up doing anyway because of the profusion of these courses within our curriculum. But it's also true that students who are interested in going to architecture school or having careers that have to do with architecture, one of the things that we can do is, and that we do is to advise how you can supplement these courses in art history, which architectural history, which are expected if you go into architectural to further study architecture, how you can combine them with other courses and other areas of study that people who go into the architectural professions, who are in the architectural professions, want to see as backgrounds, such as, you know, modern languages, ability to draw, that kind of thing. So
is that a common pathway for students?
Not a huge one, but there are, and I think that quite frankly, that there are more students who are interested in studying the built environment than actually go on to careers as architects. And that's something that we can certainly offer. And then there are all kinds of sort of connected professions that benefit from a knowledge of architecture. So, for example, in working in state parks, working in museums, in the part of the museum operation that has to do with buildings and facilities, getting jobs that have to do with the facility planning and that kind of stuff. Does that make sense, Mrs. Sarkassian?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Are there other people, or am I the only one?
Keep going.
Okay.
Could I ask which community college Emma is
She
graduating from?
attended the Peralta colleges in the Oakland vicinity,
Oh, wow.
Laney College, Berkeley City College.
Right.
She actually went to Merritt College. She did all 3 courses,
Right.
you know, and that was a really good experience for her.
Mhm.
And she finally made the decision, let's make the leap and go. She's been doing it for a little while. So she decided to go ahead and explore, you know, getting her full BA, and she's ready. She's ready to do it. But it's certainly a very strange time that in the fall, right?
Oh, I know.
Like, you know, where she's trying to make her decision about what school to attend. She did visit Davis. She really loved the community.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, what does it mean to study art or to take courses when you're doing it virtually? And it was, Elaine, you were talking about, you know, collaborating or, you know, working with people interdisciplinary, and is that possible? It seems like it's going to be a very strange way how do you implement that in the new age?
It definitely is a different situation. It takes some adapting. What I guess like lack there is in like physical interaction, I think professors have begun to like really figure out like a great way to promote like interaction like digitally, especially considering you know, nowadays like digital already is sort of like proliferating like as a means of communication, and the ways to adapt like according to like certain like psychological practices and stuff like that. I think the professors have like done a really great way of like still like kind of facilitating that interaction. Something that I think is really important to remember is that like even in like a in-person lecture, when studying like certain like types or areas of our history, it still is like looking at like a screen, not necessarily the art itself, which is always like it would be a different experience to like physically look at art. So in a way, there's like similarities to, you know, watching a video or like having an online Zoom lecture to versus like having like a actual like human lecture like that's being taught with like this type of interaction. But like I said, like I think these new like ways of sort of like promoting like interaction where it seems that like isolation obviously is like our main priority right now. It's still, I think, definitely possible. Like I keep referring back to this like the basement gallery stuff, but just like for example, the use of social media has allowed us to still continue to sort of like allow students to like express themselves, and it gives us like our history majors the chance to still like engage in like practices that we enjoy as well. You know, for example, and another example would be like the Menai Shrem. I know in regards to like the graduate students are also like they're hosting their own graduate seminars to present their master's theses, and I think that's like a really still a great way to like remind everybody that you know, the promotion of like knowledge isn't lost in this kind of atmosphere. There's still ways to engage with others and ask questions, so it's just a little bit different.
I was wondering how the school was trying, you know, exactly what you're saying, Elaine, is like, you know, finding those means and social networking. And I know, so I'm just remembering what Emma has shared with me, some of her, you know, concerns. And one of them, of course, is that importance of engagement with her peers or with the experts, and that conversation is such an important piece of your learning. And what is the school or professors, what are you thinking about? How do you know, encourage that environment?
Yeah, one of the things that I could tell you it's being discussed now. There haven't been any final decisions about what fall quarter is going to look like, but I can tell you what's on the table. And one of the main direction that it looks like our chancellor is wanting to take is to have the largest classes be online and virtual in the fall, and then the smaller classes can meet in person, and that would mean that a student such as Emma, who would be concerned about this business of like meeting her peers and getting to know real people instead of just on an online in an online format, what she should probably do is to look at the smaller courses and to sign up for them. And what we always offer every quarter is that we always offer, we're always offering seminars, as undergraduate seminars, as well as larger upper division courses. And it looks like those smaller seminars will be able to be taught in a classroom setting with like real people. You get to know the people in the class and so forth. And basically what it looks like they're going to do is that the largest classrooms are going to be vacated because they'll be online, and then the smaller classes can take place in these larger classrooms with, you know, everybody appropriately spread out, but with live classes. And then in addition, the courses that are these lab style courses, and so that would include the art studio courses that we have here, would be able, the plan is that those would be taught in person. So that's kind of the logistical plan for the fall. And in our and we would be participating in that smaller class setting every quarter with at least 2 courses. So my advice would be, if this is a concern, certainly what you can do is to cherry pick toward these to these smaller classes, and then if your interests, if you're going towards your interest, probably you're going to have a combination of a smaller class with a larger course. And because we're a relatively small faculty, you get to know the professors in no matter what environment you are in. So, you know, because you'll see them over and over again. So I think that allows for exactly what you're asking about.
Absolutely. I also was curious about internships, because I know in the light of the, you know, separation, all that, but what have you had with regards to providing opportunities for internships, or how does that play out?
Yeah, well, we do provide, we do guide students toward internships, and fortunately, there are lots of places on campus where students can work. Students can actually have paid jobs that are related to careers in the arts, and we also have internships. And my suspicion is that those opportunities, that we're going to particularly comb those opportunities just because we have a lock on them, you know, whereas we don't have any, we don't have a whole lot of say in whether, say, historical sites or museums are going to open and offer internships, but we have much more of a say as to whether the internship, you know, whether our campus entities, our campus museums, our campus galleries will be able to offer internships. So that's something that, yeah, we'll definitely do. And Alexandra Sofroniev, who is our classicist and also one of the main faculty in the coming museum studies emphasis, she is very she's very keen to be making contacts all across campus to make sure that our students can find, you know, sort of interesting and related interests to their for their, you know, future careers. So it's something that we definitely have in mind as as something that we want to work on. And then, you know, one of the great advantages of UC Davis is its Internship and Career Center. It is one of the country's very best internship centers within a university, and they will have, and they are always on the lookout, you know, getting in, you know, internship opportunities for students, offering a place where students can get advising about careers and that sort of thing. And they're very good. I mean, they're almost a reason in themselves to come to UC Davis, apart from anything else. So
yeah. In addition, on our website, you go to arts.ucdavis.edu and click on the art history box. On the home page, the front page, if you scroll down, there is a pod, we call it, called Careers in Art History. And there we have an art history guide that Diana and I put together. And our history career guide gives an alumni list. Where do some of our alumni go? And then I also added my career guide that I created. And some of it's duplicated with the career guide Diana and I created. So the Work of Art is a career series that I host for students in the arts. And so Work of Art career series assists students with, you know, discovering what can I do with this major. And in the career guide, I actually list internships students have completed for course credit. So this gives students the opportunity to look and see where on campus can I get an internship.
Julie, are we going to have meetings for the Work of Art series next year?
Yes, for sure. I just hosted one online recently called What Can I Do with This Major? And I went over the career guide as to, you know, what are popular websites to look for internships and careers? Yeah, what are popular associations related, graduate school programs, alumni, things like that.
Is that a regular podcast that you subscribe to, or you just, how would she know to join into something like that?
So all students admitted to UC Davis so incoming students are added to a listserv. We have a department with listserv for advising. And so I send out those notices to the listserv. Students can also subscribe to the liberal arts and business listserv at the Internship and Career Center. And that will give them information as to, you know, new job postings, and are at the website called Handshake. And Handshake is really awesome because students can create a profile, and it's kind of like having their own little, you know, social profile for internship and job search. And they can search, and they can actually have a setting to receive notices of upcoming jobs or internships related to particular majors.
That's great.
Yeah, in addition, we have a visual resources facility with 2 visual resources librarians who are very keen on tapping our alumni network to come and give talks about, you know, how I found my career as as an architectural planner, or as how I found my career as a dealer in prints and drawings. And that's something that I think adapts pretty well to this online version, and also allows you to allow students to connect to alumni, our alumni, who are doing the kinds of jobs that would be of interest to students, and to get to know them, you know, and to have some contact with them, not only during the actual, you know, the actual series, or the actual meeting, but to afterwards as real people. So,
Elaine, could I ask you what you studied? What was your, are you just, is it history? Is there an emphasis, or?
Well, I don't have an emphasis in art history, but one of the things I think is
you're a double major, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. So like I said, one of the things that I find most valuable about the major the fact that it is smaller, so it allows room. So you learn all these like principles that are really useful, and it allows room for you also to take up like another major or like another minor. And like the interaction of those two like different studies, I think that is where if I like don't have an emphasis in the history itself, like the skills I've learned in their history, interacting with these other fields really like bolster, I guess, like my learning and like what is my decisions of what I want to do later. So yeah, I don't necessarily have an emphasis in art history, but I am also an East Asian Studies major.
So you're a
Which
double
has-
major. I mean,
yeah.
in art history and East Asian studies.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, Emma was considering, she's interested in mathematics. So that's like the architectural component. She's studying
Yep.
math as well.
Yep.
So a little bit of a blend there. I'm not sure
Yep.
how that would play out for her. But Elaine, if you were to sell Davis, like why would you choose that over one of the other UCs or what? Do you have a thought on that?
I would choose Davis just because our department, so like it was mentioned earlier that like it is a little smaller, but I find that extremely useful and like and extremely advantageous just because we have a smaller department, you get to know everybody really well. You get to know your professors really well. You get to build like this really nice and like friendly like working relationship. Like your professors will know you by name, which is something that I think is like really compared to like maybe like for example like Berkeley, where it might be more competitive. The Davis Art History program is really helpful in like actually caring about like assisting you like pursue like your research interests or like helping you to figure out what career path you want to take in the future, and like really providing you with opportunities and all the resources available that can get you there. Like I know for me personally, like coming into Davis, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but once I entered the art history department, I was able to interact with so many like amazing people. Like I've gained like a really nice community of like fellow art historians just by the nature of like seeing them or like being in the same classes with them. You get to know people very, very well. And then with the professors, because we have like a smaller group of professors, you get to know them very well. You also get to know them very well. I honestly would say that like I just think like the fact that the art history department really feels more like a community is one of my biggest selling points. You won't ever usually feel like you've been like left like in like out in the cold, you know. If you like ever need assistance, like there's always going to be someone there to help you figure it out, whether it be like in advising or academics or just like having like a student like companion like be there for you. And so yeah, that would be my selling point, I guess.
Thank you.
One of the things that, if I could just add, that is important to a number of many students who end up as our majors, lots of them are double majors in much larger majors, such as psychology, for example. And you know, so why would you want to be a double major in psychology and art history? And it was like, well, I want, you know, it's art history. From our art history is going to be the source of my letters of recommendation, because nobody in psychology knows who I am. There are 1,400 psychology majors. I went to a college that didn't have much more than 1,400 total population. And so it's very easy if you pick a big major to feel that you fall into this anonymity. You know, who's going to know me, and who's going to know me well enough to be able to say at the end of your academic road, you know, I highly recommend a student. I know her well. Not very many, if you were just one person in a very, very large lecture class, year after year, quarter after quarter. That's the kind of benefit that art history offers. We also have a very high percentage, have had a very high percentage over the years of students who graduate with honors, students who graduate Phi Beta Kappa, students who graduate as members of the honors societies. And that's because I think that they have been able to get this kind of personal attention that really helps them blossom intellectually and academically. And it's one of the real practical benefits to your later career of a smaller major. And we're not the only smaller major on campus, but we're a good one. And that there are, aside from having all of these nice features that Elaine just mentioned about, getting to know people and so forth, there are these really practical benefits that have to do with a higher GPA, better college performance, having,
Absolutely.
Getting letters of recommendation that are much stronger because people really know you and can speak to your assets. So that's I think that's the short end of the, what we can offer too in terms of our size.
Yeah, I think Emma works very well in an environment where she can get to know the people and, I like that collaborative model, that discussion, and the smaller community environment. It really, I think, is a good, I'm her mom, but I think it's a good fit for her. But I totally get that. I went to UC Santa Cruz, and we had very small classes. I was a math major, and so very small department, and I really got to know my professors. So I can totally attest to the importance or how valuable that experience is.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Santa Cruz because that is our big competitor in terms of undergraduate education. And I think it says something about UC Davis. Lots of students feel that even though UC Davis is like a much bigger campus than Santa Cruz, it's also filled with students who care about other people, and that there's a good kind of humanistic environment at UC Davis that attracts a lot of students. And I can say that, I think your average UC Davis student is like really nice, like a good person and, good to know, and sort of there's a friendliness on campus and openness on campus I think is really remarkable, considering that it's not that it's a big school. I mean, it has tons of options academically, but it does have that atmosphere, which is pretty darn nice, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think one thing that ties students together too, the opportunity to join various clubs on campus. There are numerous clubs based on all different kinds of interests. And I met a student last week who started a club just for students that own dogs, that had dogs, at their apartments. And we had the art history club, and Lane's been leading the art history club and coming up with, ideas for engagements of getting students together, not only to get to know each other, but also explore different aspects of art history. A couple of years ago, we set up, or did you do it last year? Did you have the docent tour of the museum in Sacramento?
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah,
it was last year. We did it the year before.
Yeah, we went to the Crocker last year, and we had like a docent tour of one of the exhibits, and it was a really great time, because it was interesting because we saw one of the paintings in the Crocker. It was at the Midnight Shrum this year, so it was really it was a fun time to revisit it. We also participated in Picnic Day last year, in the Picnic Day parade, and so we all dressed up as like different paintings, and it was a really great way to sort of like let everyone know that our history major is also here, and the art is really it's really cool. And so we also do like fun things like that, engaging with the rest of campus. So we're not also we're not like just isolated to like we're not sanctioned off between humanities and STEM, which I think is also something that I really value, like being able to sort of not have that divide between the two, which I feel like is definitely like a common like idea about humanities and STEM, that they have to be oppositional to each other. But so our department is really good at actually like deconstructing that and be like, oh no, it's like for example with the architectural emphasis, like, oh no, like you can also be involved with not just like the arts, you can be involved with like hard science or or social science, like business, stuff like that. So yeah.
I like that interdisciplinary component. That's,
Mhm.
you know, that's a really interesting take. Instead of just studying art, you study it from multiple perspectives. So,
Right.
yeah.
There's a huge interest across the campus in interdisciplinarity and interdisciplinary areas of study. Lots of these interdisciplinary areas offer offer minors, and you basically they make you be either a double major or minor. When you come to a minor in something at UC Davis, and that there are lots of really interesting interdisciplinary minors that connect to art history. Just I'm trying to think of one offhand. We've got a very successful human rights minor, for example, and that there are courses in history, in literature and languages. In art history, we have a course, art and human rights, that fits into that minor. We've got all kinds of area studies minors. And that's something that where the nature of the curriculum actually it draws you into this interdisciplinary stuff, aside from the fact that you can, take courses in all kinds of different departments. But this interdisciplinary focus is
well, if so, as a new incoming student, will they have some advisement through about the coursework that they should choose? Yes. Or
that's Julie's job. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my role. Is students come in, Professor Strauss and I will assess what courses have been completed at the community college that we could apply toward the major, and we take a look at, even though that class doesn't equal UC Davis class, we still count it. A lot of classes are still counted to meet the lower division requirements. We want students coming in to have met as many lower division requirements in the major as possible, so they can focus on the upper division courses. Yeah. Students are welcome to come meet with me. We will have a welcome session at the beginning of the quarter during the orientation, where we will go over the major requirements, see if they have questions, or we can meet one-to-one. I'll be meeting with students one-to-one via Zoom over the summer. Transfer students can meet with me so we can discuss what courses to choose for the fall quarter and go over the major requirements to clarify. Also, for students who are interested in double majoring or a minor, we can also actually build an academic plan that's viewable by the student, by myself or the major advisor, and to look at, if you want to do a double major, probably take an additional year at UC Davis, or, what courses could overlap between a double major. If I choose a minor, how many more units will I need to complete a minor? It's pretty easy to finish the major and complete a minor. That's pretty much done in 2 years, no problem. It's the double major where we have to look at unit restrictions possibly, and then time to degree. Does the student, have the resources? Do they want to stay an extra year at UC Davis?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
One more minute. So we have to end our session soon. I apologize for getting started later. We had a problem logging in because there was another department that was using this webinar platform. So that's why we were able to start on time. We had to wait for them to end. So I want to be respectful of possibly the next the next group that's coming in at, the next is starting now, but I want to take one more minute. Ashley or Lauren, do you have any questions? And if you do, you're welcome to email me. You can find my contact information on our website, or we can set up a one-to-one Zoom meeting, or you can reach out to Elaine or Professor Strauss does as well. Feel free to contact us, with questions. But right now, do you have any questions?
Julie, you have the emails for Ashley and Lauren and Emma, right? So do you want to just give my email in an email that you send them, and that they could? I'm more than happy to continue a conversation.
Thank you.
With you by email, and I imagine that you might too, Elaine. You wouldn't mind. You give a.
Yeah, I'll send out all of our email addresses or contact information. You can also find it on our website, but I'll send you an email. So,
An email sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to meet you all. I hope Emma did well on her online exam.
It's still going on, but thank you.
Oh my God. Okay. It's going to be the wave of the present for a while. And Ashley, I would be delighted to communicate with you about any of your, sort of needs or desires is coming up.
Yeah.
Terrific.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All
we look forward to seeing you all at UC Davis. Gosh.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later.